I look for what's called convergence. I can find the answer to anything if I don't know anything about it, right? And I won't get sold. And this is the key. When I went out there, I took a map of Columbus, right? Just a map off Google Maps. I printed it out. I think I met with 5 or 6 realtors. And I met with each one of them individually, and I always use the fresh map. And I said, can you circle for me the places that are good to invest, right? The first answer I got, and you might get this if you do this, oh, we can't talk about that. It's called redlining. Basically, there's some of the poorer suburbs that then didn't get loans and so on. I won't get into that, but basically they feel really uncomfortable, right? They feel really uncomfortable telling you where the good areas and the bad areas are, because typically the bad areas are the poorer areas. And sometimes the government, these community groups or whatever, send out people to really just trick them into saying the wrong thing, and then they pull them up, right? It happens. So a lot of them were like, oh, we can't talk about that, I'm sorry, that's, we don't discriminate against. So I said, look, I'm an investor. I'm looking for this, 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 and this. Where would be the best areas for me as an investor to get the right return relative to the risk that I'm prepared to take at this kind of price range? Oh, well, in that case, a good investor like that would really want to be here, would not want to be here. So sometimes you just have to ask the question the right way to make them comfortable without saying good and bad areas, right? So you be smart. But I'm just saying as an example, right? But why was I asking 5 or 6 realtors and asking them to circle? You know why? To get the difference between the truth and opinion. Because here's what happens, right? I happen to really like a part of the Springs that other people don't like. You talk to me, I'm going to be like, it's awesome. Talk to that person, oh, it's horrible, don't go there, right? How do I know what the truth is? So what I do is I'll go and ask the same question of 5 or 6 people. And where everybody, like if everybody circles an area as being bad, and then the rest are kind of all different, there's probably a good chance that that's a bad area, right? If 5 people circle the same area independently, the same with good, right? And then the other ones, I can look at them later, they can be fringe. And so I went and met with 1 realtor, 2, and they're like, yep, that's not an area I want to be. Same one, that's not an area. So like 5 realtors later, I'm like, all right, that's an area I don't want to be, right? Same with the good. So I look for convergence, because that way I know I'm not being sold. If I ask multiple people the same question, I know I'm not being sold. Because they can't, they don't know what the other person. Don't go and take the same map with you and say, this is what the other guy said. Take separate maps, right? Right? Contractors, ask them. Here's the job, what would you do? Why would you do it? How much would it cost? What could go wrong? Oh, nothing could go wrong, it's going to be perfect. What's the Christian word for BS? Right? Lots of things can go wrong. I've had crazy things go wrong. You never would have thought about it. We had pipes in a house explode upstairs, and it was winter, so it froze, and it was like a water fountain coming out the top story. Like, things can go wrong, right? They just do. Some people tell you nothing can go wrong, they're lying to you. They just want to get the job, right? A good contractor will say, you know what, look, these are kind of the risks. I think it's on the downside, but, what would you do? Important question. What would you do? How would you fix it? Because here's the thing. A good contractor is looking out for you, that wants to develop a long-term relationship, will find really clever solutions. Someone just wants the money from you today and doesn't care, right? Guess what they're going to do? They're going to recommend you what suits them. The reason why I work with the contractor I work with is because I've seen the bill that they've sent one of my clients for like $13.50, because that's what it costs for that part. They didn't charge them $50, and they could have. I've seen them not charge a client for something because they bought a toilet repair kit thing. It had like a plunger and whatever else. I don't repair toilets, but it had like 5 or 6 pieces in it. And we had this particular street where we owned basically all the units on both sides. And so they were fixing the toilet in this unit here, and then he got a call that this other unit's toilet was leaking. And because the part he used for this unit was like one part, the other part he didn't need, it was fine. All he did was he just took that part and went to this unit and fixed it using the other part and didn't even charge the client anything. Could have charged him $100, $200, and no one would have said anything. But there's that honesty and integrity, right? Those are the people you want to work with. Not the person that goes, well, it'll be $150, and because $700 later, right? That's how your return disappears. That's all you want to ask. How would you do it? My contractors say, I'll share some stories later, but like, man, he saved me so much money on things that I never would have thought about, because it didn't occur to me. And if he would have said, let's do it this way, and he was a liar, I would have believed him, because everything he said sounded reasonable, right? I mean, if the people that get screwed, they don't think they're getting screwed. That's why they're getting screwed. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it, right? Accountants, what's the best way to minimize tax on this property, on this portfolio, or whatever? What's an uncommon method others have used? Based on my situation, what would you do? Right? The basic questions. Because otherwise what happens is you just go do my taxes, and sometimes people get tired, they get over it, they're busy, maybe they don't want to search. It's like, I would rather pay you an extra $300 to spend an hour finding the best way to do this if it's going to save me $5,000 versus just giving me the baseline thing, right? Some accountants, they're not creative, right? They're just not. And that's why the 10 property plus accountants, they're the ones you want to be with, right? Where do you find those accountants? Bigger pockets, meetups, right? You see, it's a circular thing. It works, right? Attorneys. This is a good one. What structure do you use to protect your own assets? Why? So I'll share details from my attorney later, but I asked him some questions. Thank you. I asked him some questions, and I said, well, can you explain why you do what you do? And it was interesting because he gave me the legal answer, and then he gave me what he does, right? And it's funny because some of it was like, yeah, but that only works for you because you're an attorney, right? Because people aren't going to sue you the way they're going to sue me. So sometimes even the advice you get from your specialists, you've got to temper that, right? You've got to have some wisdom. I never go into an accountant or an attorney or anything without knowing it. I don't go there and say, teach me. I go there and I do tons of research. It's cheaper as well. I do tons of research and I go, I want to test my thinking. Here's what I've read. Why would this not work? And then you know what? You have a half an hour meeting, you pay them a lot less than saying, why don't you spend 15 hours researching all the questions I have, which I could have done myself on Bigger Pockets, other websites, whatever. I'm just going to test my knowledge. And then that way I can get to the answer very quickly. So sometimes the advice that you get, you also need to funnel. They're giving you their best advice, but you have to funnel it for what works for you. Okay? And that comes with experience and so on.